Hi guys, welcome back to yet another review. This time around I'm bringing you the Kefine Quatio. This is the latest IM from Kefine, a brand that has been around for give or take 2 years. They started out with a model called the XINHS, which was their take on a planar driver using a 14.5 millimeter unit, if I'm not mistaken. They then released the Delchi, which was a single DD, then the Delchi AE, and more recently the Clean. And the particularities about the Clean, which is their budget single DD, and the Delchi AE is the fact that they used the exchangeable nozzles to then convert different tuning styles. As for the Quatio, this is their first hybrid. It uses 2 DDs and 2 BAs, and it also has those adjustable or exchangeable nozzles to then convert different tuning style. The interesting thing about the way that they've used the dual DDs as opposed to what we usually see being done with dual DDs, which is they are used in a isobaric configuration to a certain extent, or quasi-isobaric configuration, and basically tailored for just base applications. Over here what they've done is they've taken a 10 and an 8 millimeter. The 8 millimeter is handling the lowest base frequencies, and then the 10 millimeter is used to then handle the continuing of the mid bass and the mids, with then the BAs helping out, cleaning up the high end and giving it that detail, that clarity up top. This is something that we've seen some other brands do it, namely the Celeste Yaksha, which I have here, is also doing something of the sort. It also has a 10 and an 8 millimeter being used in the same configuration, then a single BA and a microplanar helping out with the remainder of the frequency range. And we've seen it used as well in more expensive IEMs. One of them, for example, is the CKLVX D62, which again uses the same dual driver setup, handling the lower frequencies and then the mid bass and the mids to a certain extent, and then plus 6 BAs. Another one that jumps to mind is the Da Vinci, the Duno. So it's a let's say configuration which is a little bit unusual to a certain extent, but it brings with it the benefits of having the DDs handling the bass and the mids. And the biggest benefit I see is that we get that lushness of the let's say the meat and potatoes of the frequency range being handled by all dynamic drivers, conferring then this more organic, this more musical tendency to the sound, which when we usually find hybrids which have maybe not been tuned in the most ideal of manners, you can find that BA tonality coming up and showing itself, or being a little bit overly prominent, and it's just the way it is. I mean, the DD drivers, whether you like them or don't like them, the reality is this: DD has a simplicity to it which brings a more raw kind of feel to the sound, which is for many very pleasant. I am one of those people. Anyway, continuing here with the Quatio, like I was saying, so two dynamic drivers, I believe a DLC diaphragm drivers, and then we have the BAs, an all metal shelf which is CNC machined. So in terms of the build quality, absolutely flawless. I mean, Kefine in any one of their products, even their budget Clean, absolutely scores top marks. There's nothing to be said there. Coupled to this configuration, we then coupled to this, in terms of accessories, we have a very nice selection of tips. They worked absolutely flawless. I've got absolutely nothing to say about the tips. They worked very well, be it the white or be it these dark ones. They basically kind of measured the same. I really didn't see any difference. I also tried my usual KB ears. I tried the BGVP white bores. I tried the Venus Velvet. So I tried the tips that I usually like using, and honestly, I ended up just sticking with the stock tips because they really do the job well. The cable as well is a really nice cable, exchangeable terminations, so nothing to be said there as well. It's got a nice little case which we've seen already being used before by them. So nice case, nice tips. everything really, really well thought out, and all of it for $129, which is pretty incredible. I mean, that's pretty decent value for money for a very nicely built, very well built product that looks very classy, doesn't look tacky or anything of the sort. It has a certain feel of quality associated with it. Brings a decent cable, exchangeable terminations. Like I said, it's got all the bells and whistles. Let's put it that way. The other interesting aspect here, which sometimes is not very well achieved by some brands, is the fact that the different nozzle terminations actually do work, and they work very, very well. I did all of the listening initially. Let me see if I can get you the nozzles here. Okay, see if I can basically show you the differences. Okay, so this first nozzle, as you can see, it's got like a gold filter. Okay, then it's got this one, which has got like a silver filter. Okay, and then the one that's on the actual IEM, which has the black filter. I did most of the listening initially with the silver, and I have to say that I was really, really impressed. And nothing that nothing, I can't point anything towards it. I didn't listen to it with the gold, and again, I was impressed, although there was a little bit more energy, and we are talking about a difference between the silver and the gold. Let me just get the graphs here so I don't mislead you. So silver and then gold. We're talking about a difference across the whole frequency range of around, maybe in the lowest frequencies we have a difference of around 2 dBs, and then in the mids and upper mids, so between 1.5 and 7 kilohertz, about dB and a half difference. And then the black nozzle basically has the same base output of the silver, so a little bit more than the gold, and it further drops at another dB. So the difference between the gold nozzle and the black nozzle will be somewhere along the lines of 3 dBs in terms of the mids, upper mids, and treble. But when I show you the graphs, you'll see it better. Anyway, all of this to say what? That the 3 nozzles honestly worked very well. If there is any nitpick that maybe I can point out, is that with the gold nozzle, because of the fact that it drops off ever so slightly the bass, and then the area there of the mids to upper mids becomes a little bit more forward, it can very mildly sound slightly over energetic with certain songs that I like listening to. But guys, trust me, when I say I'm nitpicking, I am really nitpicking. And I'm talking about maybe some guitars just coming across just a little bit too intense for my personal liking. Maybe as well some guitar plucks, the same things. Maybe some wind instruments being just a little bit too energetic. But nothing, honestly, nothing that I can consider a deal breaker. Personally, I would stick with either the silver or the black. That's just my personal taste. And the reason why I ended up doing then the majority of the listening with the black nozzle was because it was the one that reminded me of the sound of the Delci OG or the Delci AE, with the nozzle that as well confers that more flattish response, that more neutralish response in terms of the mids and upper mids and treble. And that's just my personal preference, honestly. I think that the versatility and the way that they've been tuned with the different nozzles has been so well achieved that it will definitely satisfy a large crowd of people. I don't honestly think that there will be people that will say, oh no, I don't like the sound of the Quatio because it's overly warm or too dark or anything of the sort. No, there's enough variance between the three, let's say, tunings to satisfy a wide variety of people and a wide variety of music genres. And by this I mean I listen to everything from the Little Fuge in G minor by Jacques Lassois Trio, to From Dusk to Dawn by George Duke, to Elephant by Carol Duboc, to Analog from Soul Persona, to Fool Me Once by Lindsay Webster, to Holding On by Gregory Porter. I listened to that, but at the same time I also listened to stuff like The Shape of My Heart by Alex Alex Biggie, which is a remix, In the Hollow, or Japanese Roots by Takedake, Nations by Sebastian Leger, Azul by JB Balvin, Merida by Refechi. So I went through a whole variety of music that I like personally listen to. I even listened to a little bit of rock, incredibly, and I have to say that I was really very impressed with the performance of the Quatio. I wasn't. It's not that I wasn't expecting it, because Kefine has set the bar really high when it comes to their products, and their whole let's say design philosophy and company philosophy has been to not release too many products, but the products that are released are the result of careful consideration, careful tuning, careful listening, and making sure that what is released is a proper IEM that will be in the market for some time. So I don't think they have this idea that some brands have, which is, let's launch IEMs like they are hamburgers, let's put it that way. No, they are launching properly designed IEMs from the beginning to the end, be it from the hardware side to the tuning side. Everything is definitely been very carefully thought out. That's one thing that I can definitely guarantee you. Anyway, going on to the sound, and we'll be talking about the sound mainly in the black, with the black, let's say, nozzle. Although the silver nozzle, the difference will be it's noticeable, a little bit more energy in the mids, upper mids, and treble, but it's not something which is ridiculous. So much of what I'm saying for the black can be as well applied to the silver nozzle, and when there is a difference which I think is worthwhile mentioning, I'll mention it. But the sound of the Quatio is very organic, and very much the sound of the Delci. And to say this is to say what? If you are a fan of the Delci, if you like the sound of the original Delci, you will definitely like the sound of the Quatio. And it means that you are getting this really well executed sub-bass focused lower frequency. Really, it's got this this presence, this feel to it, which is very impressive, I have to say, especially considering that they are not using the same size driver. They use the 10mm there, and they're using now an 8mm to give you that presence in the bass. However, having that ability to have two dynamic drivers handling that whole, let's say, 60, 70, 80% of the frequency range has enabled them to clean up the bass in a manner that maybe the Delci wasn't able to do, because it was having to basically do all the frequencies. So the 8mm, and just to quickly mention, yeah, this is using a 4-way crossover. The 8mm is not only being able to be deep and have that guttural, that let's say visceral kind of feel to it when the song has it, but because it then has the 10mm driver helping it, it cleans it up and gives it that slam, that impact, that cleanliness, which is really very impressive. I have to say that I was very impressed, and I was so impressed that I even I've got here the D62 for a reason. The D62, like I said, uses two dynamic drivers, and in my opinion, the Quatio surpasses the performance of the D62 with regards to bass and mids. It surpasses it. The only area where I think the D62 maybe just is able to be a little bit more capable is in terms of the higher frequency extension, which is a product of just having more BAs, and basically that has enabled it to then be a little bit more capable in that part of the spectrum. And even then, it's not a huge difference. There is a little bit more detail, there's a little bit more forwardness, but that's, anyway, let me not jump too forward ahead. Bass really well executed, clean, detailed, dynamic, top marks for my opinion. Mid-range, just the sort of mid-range I like. It's got that lush, warm, cozy feeling to it. Maybe here and there, yes, the silver nozzle or even the gold nozzle can give it just a little bit more life to that particular song or that particular artist, and make it come across just a little bit more, let's say, engaging. But for the most part, be it the black or the silver nozzle, I was absolutely satisfied with what I was listening. The mids are fantastic, really. Nothing that I can point as a negative aspect. And then the integration with upper mids and the treble and the BAs that are handling that part of the frequency has also been done flawlessly. There's the sound that the Quatio gives out is a sound that is as if it was just one single driver. There's no part of the frequency range which seems forward or or delayed with regards to the other. It scales flawlessly, be it at low volumes, be it at mid volumes, be it at high volume. Everything is always very balanced, very equal. Even with the gold nozzle, where we lose that little bit of bass in the lower end, still that balance is maintained. And I cannot be but absolutely surprised, because the sort of attention to making sure that this IEM plays well is very noticeable. This was not the product of a quick 1-2, let's slap some parts together and that's it, out the door. No, this was definitely well done. One of the IEMs that I'm very much looking forward to getting my hands on and I guess compare it here with the Quatio is the Softiers S, the Volume S, sorry. I think I'm going to be pleasantly surprised by how well this is capable of performing and keeping up with something along the lines of the Volume S. But anyway, it's not about the Volume S, it's about the Quatio and how it then kind of stacks up against the rest of these IEMs. Frequency range, treble, just to finish up, perfect. Right amount of energy, right amount of detail, nothing that I can again put as a flaw. Technicalities, soundstage, imaging, top marks, timbre and tonality, definitely the best part of this IM and soundstage, I would say. Timbre and tonality and soundstage, I think, are really the ones that stand out. Detail, retrieval, resolution, all of that also very capable, well within the boundaries of what is to be expected from this IM for its configuration, for its price, everything. So again, I cannot flaw it in that department. Yes, is there any flaws? Of course there's going to be flaws. It's not a perfect IM, but the flaws that I can find, and if you guys know the way I think, I very much pick on the flaws based on the price of the IM and what I was expecting. And so when I consider that, the price of $129, and by the way, I actually got this IM I bought it from HIFIGO, just to show you guys now. When you consider the price the IM has and how it's been configured and how well it's been tuned, the flaws are mere nitpicks, because that's the reality. I mean, from dusk to dawn, maybe here and there's a little bit extra energy in the upper mids to treble, and so the cymbals can be a little bit splashy at times. But this is me very much nitpicking. I mean, honestly, this is really me trying to be hard about it. Let me see another one here. Sweat, the JK Reviv remix as well, the same thing. Maybe here and there a little bit of lack of polish during the song, but guys, trust me when I say it plays good. It plays really good. It's very capable. I mean, one of the songs that I like, that I have been using lately now, to kind of give me a general idea of how good the IM sounds, is Japanese Roots by Takedaka, and phenomenal. I would say that I was as impressed with the Quatio as I was with the Symphony Ears Hexad when it comes to this song. I reviewed the Hexad recently, and I said that song really kind of made me, wow, this is something special. And again, I got that same sensation from the Quatio, because I just mainly wasn't expecting it to be this capable. Okay, so top marks, very well done. Doing a very brief comparison here with these IMs, with regards to the Kefine Delci AE, the Quatio has a lot of the DNA that is the tuning style of the Delci AE, and obviously it then works upon, or adds upon, that tuning style by making the bass a little bit cleaner, a little bit more engaging. And then with the help of the BAs up top, it just cleans up everything nicely. So definitely a solid improvement, or rather, I wouldn't even say an improvement. I would say a definite taking the signature that the single DD of the Delta AE has created and improving upon that signature. So as a hybrid, it's flawless. Compared here to the Celeste Yaksha, and I've got the Celeste Yaksha here because, as I mentioned earlier in the beginning, it's got the same sort of configuration, 2 DDs, a BA, and a microplanar. The way that it's been tuned doesn't make the microplanar be overly intense, but yes, it is enough for you to notice that there's a microplanar there, so that the extension up top is noticeable. For the remainder of the frequency, very similar. I would say that they kind of trade blows between the bass and the mids here and there. The only area where I think the Yaksha maybe loses ever so slightly to the Quatio sonically is that you notice that over here the driver coherence is perfectly done. Okay, over here you notice a little bit, okay, there's another driver there and it's a microplanar. Let's put it that way. Okay, otherwise flawless. Yes, it does cost $139, so it's $10 more expensive. No, it doesn't have the exchangeable nozzle, so it loses out in that department to the Quatio. It's a resin shell. It's a good quality resin shell. It also has a nice cable. Look, these two are really very capable IEMs, but the one that ends up coming out on top, however much it pains me to say this, because I'm a big fan of Celeste and Canary and Queen of Audio and so on and so forth, is the Quatio. This is the better IM, not only because in terms of its accessories and the ability to be more versatile are there, and it's in your face, it is what it is, the nozzles, everything is there, but also sonically it does show itself as a more polished product as compared to the Yaksha. Okay. And then finally, on this corner here, we've got the CK-LVX D62, which is now also having a slight discount in terms of its price. It's around $200, just over $200. And when you consider, okay, it's 2 DDs and then 6 BAs, and does it justify almost twice the price as compared to the Quatio? And to cut a long story short, no, it doesn't. It's a very capable IM, phenomenal sounding IM. Let's make that perfectly clear. But you are getting in the Quatio what you are getting in the D62, in my opinion, plus a little bit more. And in terms of the bass and mids, again, the Quatio is superior to the D62. Again, one of the areas where the D62 loses out to the Quatio is in that driver coherence, the way that all the drivers are matched. It's well done, but no doubt, it's really well done there, but the Quatio does it better. That's the reality. Anyway, guys, let me now quickly just show you the graphs and we'll wrap it up. Okay, guys, so here are the graphs now here for the Kefine, the Quatio, and this is the graph using the silver nozzle. Okay, and as you can see, I mean, I know I don't. You guys might think, oh, this guy is sounding like a broken record. Every single IM is a good IM, and this and that. But no, the reality is this. As I've mentioned quite a few times, we are living a time where the IEMs that we are getting are very much becoming copy-paste, and by that I mean that there's not going to be huge differences between IEMs. They all are pretty well tuned. It's then how the parts that are used in that IEM kind of match each other, and how it then comes across in terms of the sound that will be the dictating factor. And looking at graphs don't always allow you to have a full perception, or don't always allow you. No, they don't allow you to have a full perception of what an IEM is capable of sounding at. And by looking at this graph, you look at this graph and you say, okay, nice looking graph, nice bass execution, sub bass focused, basically flat by 200 hertz, nice pin again, nice, and everything is very, very mellow, very unoffensive. We're talking about a pin again of roughly 8 dBs with regards to the silver nozzle. With the gold nozzle, we have a little bit more, a little bit earlier on, maybe 8-9 dBs, but it starts off a little bit earlier, as you can see here. And then with the black nozzle, the pin again drops just a little bit, maybe to like let's see, it kind of drops 3 kilohertz where it peaks. It's kind of dropped to like sorry, my apologies, kind of 6 dBs. All right. So we have various degrees of the spinner gain here. I've assumed 2.5 kilohertz more or less as the point to measure this difference. So 6, 7, 8ish, and maybe like an 8 going on to 9 kind of level there. All right. The bass, as you can see, between the black and the silver nozzle, it's exactly the same. Let me just take away the gold nozzle. Okay. So they're very similar, and that's why I was saying that in terms of sonically, they sound almost identical, although you can notice ever so slightly in terms of the treble with some songs which are very much detail orientated up top, and if you're really paying attention and really know the songs well like I do, you will pick up a little bit of a difference, but nothing which is, you know, like day and night. Where you will see the difference is when you compare obviously the gold to the black nozzle. Not only in terms of the bass, there's a little bit of a difference, so you feel it kind of loses a little bit of that sub bass rumble, but you notice that the mids become more forward. So this would be something, if you are more technically, you know, focused, you like more technicalities, I would say that this is the nozzle to go for. But for, you know, kind of the type of sound that I like listening to, the black nozzle just did the work perfectly. That 100 hertz pointer I like using, as you can see, corresponds basically to the peak of the pinna gain, and everything else is below that. So the sound is warm, it's engaging, it's a very musical, organic type of sound, which is what we got in the Delci when we used the OG nozzle. Let me just quickly show you here the Delci. So this is a Delci AE with that nozzle that conferred the same sort of style of sound as the original Delci. With the other nozzle, yes, you got a little bit more forward mids, a little bit of more energy there, but I didn't really enjoy this nozzle, to be honest with you. It wasn't that it was bad sounding or anything, but I just didn't enjoy this style of tuning. What I did prefer was the style of tuning that we got from this particular nozzle on the Delci AE, which is the original, let's say, tuning of the Delci, and it gave that nice sub-bass focus and everything. But we have one single driver doing that, while on obviously the Quatio we have 2 drivers. So this whole area, although, you know, the graphs, they're basically graphed the same, it just sounds more I wouldn't say alive. It just, you can feel there's a little bit extra quality there because there are 2 drivers handling that part of the spectrum. Okay. So that's that. With comparison here to the Yaksha, okay, Yaksha number 14, there we go. Again, almost identical. Yes, you do notice that the microplanar does give it a little bit more of an energy level over there. It's not that it's wrong or colored or anything of the sort, but it's that disparity in terms of matching of the drivers that you notice that happens. The rest, yeah, is very similar. The Quatio just edges that out by the quality of the bass ever so slightly. It's not a big difference, but overall it's the balance that's struck between the frequencies, and the Quatio just does a better job, and that's why it comes out on top. It just sounds more capable. Okay, that's the reality, and you will notice more that capability, especially when you start pushing the volume, where everything maintains a composure that the Yaksha kind of loses as the volume goes up. At lower volumes, maybe the differences are very minimal, but as you start pushing the volume, you know, high mid volume to high volume, you notice that the Quatio is the better IM. And then finally, so Yaksha out of the way, Delci out of the way, Delci out of the way, this out of the way as well. Yeah, D62, the CKLVX, the D62. And the D62 again sounds, as you can see, at least graphs very similar to it. Even if I was to use, let's say, the gold nozzle, let me just take away the black ones and put the gold nozzle. As you can see, the similarities maintain themselves, very evident. Yes, there's a little bit more detail up top here on the D62 as compared to the Quatio, but the reality is this: the Quatio does have a better bass execution, in my opinion, without a doubt, and And above all, and that's the main reason why I believe the Quatio edges out the D62, is that balance, that coherence of the drivers in the Quatio is, I think, way above its price point, way above its price point. It's the feature that really makes it stand out. Okay, guys, that's basically it. As always, like and subscribe. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask me, and I'll do my best to answer as quickly as possible. You take care now. Bye-bye.